With Liquor Barn, you can shop your favorite bourbon, that perfect bottle of wine, or discover something new. To place an order for pickup or delivery, download the Liquor Barn app, visit liquorbarn.com, or call your nearest Liquor Barn location. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our email list for all the latest news on products, promotions, and events. Liquor Barn, where Kentuckians go to celebrate life. Cheers!
Welcome to the Bourbon Life Podcast, your source for all things bourbon. Join your hosts, Mark and Matt, as they drink and review bourbons, share news about upcoming events, interview the who's who in the bourbon world, and, most importantly, bring you along for the fun of living the bourbon life. Now, here's your hosts, Mark and Matt.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me, as always, is Matt. Well, actually, not as always. We got a lineup tonight, which is going to be great. So with me, as always, though, is my friend Matt. Matt, how you doing?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing really good tonight, Matt. Having a good time here live in the Bourbon Life studios, and we've got the rest of the crew with us tonight, right? So tell everybody who we have with us.
That's right. We brought the whole crew in tonight. We're doing the flights around here, I guess.
Yeah, man.
So we've got... Joining us, we've got Chad and Philip, the usual fellers, back again. So, hey, guys, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. So go ahead, give your plugs for your Instagrams too, just so everybody's got that information real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll go ahead. So I'm Philip. I'm at Bourbon Hunting KY on Instagram, and that's the easiest place if you ever want to reach out to me. That's where I'm at, posting pictures. So.
Yeah. And Chad, what about you, man?
I am at My Daily Bourbon on Instagram, and you can, same thing, reach me there. That's the easiest place, the only real social media that I have.
Yeah, man, which is fine, you know. And Chad, you guys probably know if you listen, you know, Chad does reviews for us, and then Philip has set in on some podcast. Well, they both have, and Philip was with me with the Kurt Singers from Netflix, the Heist thing a couple weeks ago. We did the recording session with them, and that was a lot of fun, Philip. So. Awesome job, man. Thanks for helping set that up, man. Definitely appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,
and I wanted to,
go ahead, man.
I was going to say, and I wanted to congratulate Matt because I hadn't got to talk to him about his Iron Man thing. That was awesome. So congratulations.
Yeah.
Hey,
and thank you for letting me sit in on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. I'm glad you were able to sit in with Mark. He probably made the episode that much better.
Hey, well, I shouldn't laugh because Philip, he did a great job, man. But Matt, you know, it's just not the same if you're not here, man. So you know,
I know it's better.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
So everybody knows. So Chad, Matt, and I are live together in the Bourbon Life Studios recording, and Philip is actually calling in. So gotta. You know, to me, it's a fancy new recording setup, so we can take Bluetooth phone calls, which is cool. So Philip is actually calling in from home over there in beautiful, lovely Frankfort, Kentucky, right?
That's right. Right in Buffalo Trace's front yard, known as Blanton Acres Subdivision.
There you go, man. That's awesome. Well, I tell you what, we want to thank our sponsors. We really appreciate everything that they do for us. So thank you to all of our sponsors. And then also we've got some barrels. Man, it's like August. This is like a crazy month. I think we had 3 birthdays last week. This week we got 5. We got Russ Woody, Michael Evans, Mikhail Brotrund, Stephen Mansfield, and Jim Tricoli. So happy birthday to those Barrel Society members. We appreciate you guys supporting us on Instagram and social media. So thank you all very much. And happy birthday to you guys. And I can say guys because it's all guys. So happy birthday, you guys. This week. So with that said, guys, let's drink some bourbon tonight, man. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So what we got poured up first? Who wants to jump in?
I got the cue sheet. I'll take
Matt's
this one.
got the info, man. Let's hear what we got.
That's right. So poured up here for round or session or whatever you call it.
Period
number
one.
one. Period number one. We have a new one for me, especially. I don't know if many people have heard of this, but this is Walker's K. It is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey finished with Sherry Cask Staves. And their tagline on this is made in Kentucky, inspired by the Bahamas. Artfully crafted in small batches for superior taste and smooth finish.
Yeah, so I've seen a little bit about this on Instagram recently they were kind enough, and this is actually from King's Spirits, right? Is it King Spirits? That's right?
It is King Spirits.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is actually owned by part of the, it's Stephen Bush, part of the Bush family, the Anheuser-Busch organization. So he and his dad, August the 3rd, apparently they own that spirits company. So they got a couple other releases out, I believe. Not bourbon, but I think this is their first bourbon that they put out. So again, this is Kentucky Straight Bourbon. And I think this is, Matt, what is it? Distilled at Green River.
Yeah,
right?
Green River. So we're grateful to have them on the show. So this is clocking in at 90 proof, and we do have a mash bill listed. So we've got 70% corn, 21% winter rye, 9% malted barley.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's really a big difference between rye. Is it most rye really winter rye, or do you guys know? Or am I just making that up?
I have the only thing I know that's winter is winter wheat grows in the winter.
Maybe I'm thinking winter wheat. Maybe that's what I'm thinking about. But for some reason, I had it in my head that most rye is also winter rye. Philip, do you know?
I don't. I like Chad said, the winter wheat. I know like around here, people are deer hunting. They plant winter wheat in their fields.
Yeah.
But other than that, I honestly have no clue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, none of us know. That's a research project, I guess, for next time. But yeah, so this is distilled at Green River, and Jacob Calls, the master distiller down there. We had him on the episode. It was a couple months ago, right, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
with Ryan McElveen.
Yeah, we tasted 370, 21.9 mash bills, right?
Yeah,
Three different
that's right.
at different proof and different age. And it was a fun experience.
Yeah.
Just a fun experiment too.
It was
to taste
that's
the
right.
differences with the same mash bill.
Yeah, we had what was it? Yellow Banks was one of them. Bradshaw Bourbon, right? Batch 2, I think, of Bradshaw Bourbon, which is distilled at Green River. Which Green River used to be the O.Z. Tyler distillery, and they had whatever that's Terra Pure system or Terra something.
Terra Pure, yeah.
Where they were rapid aging whiskey, and I mean it did not have the best reputation. Straight up.
Oh no, it did not.
Do you all know, is that the same like owners of the distillery? Did they switch hands or did they just rebrand?
I think it was just they rebranded because Terra Pure was like technically out of like South Carolina or something.
Right.
So now, they've opened the distillery, or they rebranded the entire distillery and just took base here in Kentucky.
Yeah. But now this stuff, this stuff, what they've been laying down and what they're putting out now, I believe they actually were distilling this, because this is, I think, 4 years old, maybe.
Yeah, they were distilling it, but they weren't doing the rapid.
They weren't doing the rapid, right. So they were doing stuff and they were using rapid aging on it, but then they were also separately distilling stuff and not doing the rapid aging. So this product is part of the non-rapid aged product. So what do you guys, I see, Chad, you're working it, man. I usually go to Matt, but Matt's like keying through all these, info sheets over there, man. So I'm not going to disturb his research at this point. So Chad, what are you picking up on this, man?
Well, it's weird. I mean, because if you would have served this to me blind, that's why I keep going in for it, is I don't know if it's just a Sherry Staves or what, but it's got a very scotchy nose. So, I mean, like I'm getting a little bit of ginger, dried fruit, that oak in there, or not oak, but a little bit of cedar. Like it really reads as a scotch on the nose to me.
Really? Interesting.
But I enjoy that though.
What about you, Matt? What do you get?
I think it's actually got a really delicious nose. I was actually really surprised at how decadent the nose is. It's like I get really some delicate fruit. I get a good amount of fig, like kind of fig Newton with it.
Yeah.
There's like a nice sweetness in there for some fig, and I'm picking up like a touch of pineapple.
Oh, interesting. Huh. Yeah, I'm surprised because you know me, man. When it comes to finished bourbons, it's like, okay, if it's finished in another oak barrel, I'm all for it. Regardless of if it's heavily charred and toasted or if it's heavily toasted and lightly charred, whatever. If it's another barrel, I usually like it. But when it's another, wine barrel or something like that, they're really kind of hit or miss for me. And a lot of times on the nose, it's not off-putting, but it's just something I don't really get into. This one actually has a very, like you said, Matt, a very sweet, very fruity type of nose to it.
Yeah, I think that the Sherry Cask really comes through for me. I'm getting some of those like red wine notes. I think it plays through with like the fig on it.
Yeah.
But then there's like something tropical, something pineapple with it. What about Philip? What do you got?
Philip, what about you? Since you're not here with us in person, but you're with us in spirit, man. Tell us what you get.
I agree with everything y'all said. I definitely get the fruity notes of like a red wine, and it's definitely sweet. I feel like maybe it's a little bit young. I don't know if it's the sweet corn I'm getting, a bit of the corn that makes me feel like maybe it's younger than maybe it really is.
Sure.
And then I'm also getting a touch of the mint, I think, from the rye.
Okay.
Yeah, I had picked up a little bit of spearmint on it as well, and it is a little lighter in color than I was expecting when we poured it in the glass. But
it is. It's. I was going to comment on that. As a matter of fact, it's almost like almost like straw colored.
Yeah,
it's a very light, yellowish.
I think the nose for me, I'm kind of getting like a like if you know like I don't know if any of y'all chew chewing gum, like that's like when they mix like the mint and like a fruit flavor chewing gum, it's kind of like mixed together. Yeah. That's kind of what I get on the nose.
That makes sense. I can see that for sure. But yeah, so I think that it's a Kentucky straight bourbon. There's no age statement on the bottle. And I could not find an age statement. So it has to be at least 4 years to not have, well, I'm assuming that the rules, since it's calling itself a Kentucky straight bourbon finished with Sherry Staves, I'm assuming that even though it still calls itself a bourbon, that they would still have to comply with that 4-year rule.
I can't remember if finished whiskeys have to have an age statement. Or not.
See, that's what I don't know that for sure either. So I can't say for sure that it is 4 years or not. So, but it is very light, kind of surprising. When I saw that, I was thinking, okay, if this is 4 years, this is a very light 4 years.
Especially with the having those Sherry Staves in there, I figured it'd be a lot, have some red hue to it.
Yeah, I did too. That's what. And initially, when I first got the bottle and I was pouring samples for Philip to take over to him, so he could have those. And I was like, "Ooh, this looks really red." But then once I poured it in the sample bottle, I was like, "That does not look red at all," And then pouring it in my Glencairn, it really doesn't have any reddish hue to it. So.
I'm sitting here. I'm holding it next to. I've got a bottle here in my bourbon room of the old Charter, and it's a 4-year. And holding it beside the Glencairn by the window, they're about the same color. So it probably, color wise, it's probably about 4 years.
I gotcha. Yeah, and and again, Green River, man. I mean, the bourbon that we had from them.
They had a bottled in bond. One of theirs was bottled in bond.
I can't remember I remember the Yellow Banks, and was it the one that they did with the Corn Growers Association? There was one that they did with those guys, and I can't remember what it was called, if that was the Yellow Banks or not. Shoot.
I don't recall anymore. But we had one of them was a bottled in bond, and I thought it had a quite good amount of age for 4 years. I thought they did a great job with it.
Yeah, and this one is 90 proof. I think you said that earlier, Matt. So I was just gonna, restate that so everybody knows. So
what do we got for topics? We had some stuff we wanted to talk
we
about.
Did, yeah.
We hit on the
So,
nose of this bourbon for a good little bit.
We
here.
did. Chad, you had some ideas over there, man, because we're kind of just hanging out shooting the shit. Pardon me. Oh, wait, I shouldn't say that. We're just hanging out, having good conversation, and drinking a little bit tonight. So you had some ideas there, Chad. What do you want to talk about?
We'll go with the one that me and Philip kind of tag teamed on. Is the Basil Hayden toast. You got Wild Turkey's new Master Keep 1, which is a toasted. So what is everyone's thoughts on a toasted finish? There's tons of brands who do it. You got Michter's. You got places like Wilderness Trail, New Riff who toast and then char and toast barrels. So what are your thoughts on the toast? Is it marketing? Does it matter?
Yeah. For me, well, and I guess the thing is, a lot of people, I guess there's companies out there, they will toast and char a barrel. Right. I mean, that's just standard practice. They're not marketing their bourbon, though, as toasted at that point in time. So now, is the Basil Hayden's, is it actually put into a second barrel that's toasted? Is that the...
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I assumed, since they were calling it toasted. So anything that you're going to see, I guess, that is going to be called a toasted finish or toasted whatever, it's going to be put into a second barrel that's going to have some level of toast on it. Is that what you think? Is that fair? Yeah. So for me, like the Michter's Toasted Barrel Rye, that's probably one of my favorite drinks. I mean, ever.
I second that.
says the man that drank half of my toasted barrel rye at a camp out at Liquor Barn, Philip, if I remember correctly.
I second that. I definitely had a couple pours of that.
But yeah, man. So usually, and that's what I said earlier. We're talking about the sherry staves, the wine barrels, the things that are finished in wine barrels. Generally, I used to not be a fan of it, but man, I've really started, especially with Bardstown Bourbon. I mean, their finished stuff. I've really started coming around more to the wine finish and the like rum finish, whatever. Angel's Envy, for example, the rye. I love the rum finished rye that they got. But the toasted stuff, I'm a fan of it. I guess there comes a point where it's like, okay, how many different people can put out a toasted?
Right.
I mean,
think about it. It's kind of an easy. Right now, it's a hot market, and it's an easy gap to fill. Because how long do you have to have it in there for?
A couple weeks.
Exactly.
At the most, yeah. Right.
And you're going to get some flavor out of it. It's not
right
something where you need to set it and leave it for 2 or 3 years to say that you had a toasted finish and to get some of that extra toasting flavor out of it. So I think it's right now a pretty easy pick for a market to fill. As far as if you're a distiller, you've got your stuff, you can throw out some toasted barrel products, blend them. Then if it goes really well, you can continue this experiment down the road and use it in blending or use it for something else. Maybe start aging a little further. But I think it's low-hanging fruit for everybody to pick up right now. And quite frankly, I think some of the ones that have come out have been great. And I'm in the camp of, and excuse the segue with the terrible pun camp, but like the toastier, the more s'moresy, the more marshmallowy, like the better. If it's toasted, I want to think like, I want to, believe that I'm on a camping trip around a fire and it's got that nice marshmallowy, smoky to like, if you're going to give me toasted, I like toasted.
Yeah, I get it.
Almost like Woodford double.
The double oaked last night. Actually, I polished off a bottle yesterday from this year's release, and I was, I always hate to finish a bottle, but I had just maybe 2.5 ounces, and I was like, yep, I'm going to finish that off. But the double oaked, man, I absolutely love that pour, and that's the one that one's heavily toasted and lightly charred, right? The 1910
was heavily charred, lightly toasted. Was
lightly toasted, and then and heavily charred, like almost disintegrated.
Yeah,
I think is what they said. So, what about you? What do you think, Chad? In terms of
I'm a huge fan of toasted. Now, I mean, it is kind of a marketing ploy because Michter's has been doing toasted forever.
Yeah, sure.
And they're probably the first company to really make it like a staple product. But over the last year, I mean, like Barrel Craft Spirits announced they've got their new, whatever comes in the black box, a portion of that will be toasted. So like Matt said, like they're putting toasted bourbon into that blend. It won't all be toasted. Wild Turkey, who never goes outside the box of what is regular bourbon, is doing their toasted Master's Keep. So I love it, especially like places like Nulu, Chase, and his team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what you say, man.
I'm a huge advocate for that. So
sure.
I like Matt said also, that s'moresy, caramelly, like rich brown sugar that it adds. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, and besides, when you're toasting, man, it's craft, as Chase would say.
Yeah, it's craft.
It's craft, right? I mean, it's craft. Or as Chase said, sometimes because they buy barrels, and he's open about that. He buys his product, he doesn't distill it. But sometimes you get a barrel, and you're like, that might not really fit the profile that anybody's going to want, or we might not be able to do the best things with that. So then you put it in a toasted barrel.
and as he would say, you send it to toast hell and you put it in there for like 6 weeks.
Seriously.
And I've picked a couple of those barrels that were like that.
Yeah.
And they've turned out phenomenal.
Yeah. Those two that we picked were just, amazing.
Oh, my God.
Of course, mine was better, but I don't want to,
I mean, I'll say yours sold out first, but I knew when I picked the one that I picked, it was for me. It was
your jam.
It wasn't for everyone.
Yeah. So Philip, what about you, man? What's your take on the toasted thing right now?
I do like them. I really like them. I think the Michters, like Chad said, they've been doing it for a long time. And I honestly think, us bourbon guys that are out hunting all the time, we're not the only ones that noticed it was good.
Yeah.
And so I think the big distilleries were just like, there's a market that's pretty much one distillery's doing it. So, it's selling out. Because, like, I remember a time I went to a release, and it was I was going for an EH7 barrel proof, and I was like, okay, I got to get that. And then I looked at the list, and I was like, well, I may not get that, but then there's some Michters, and I'll try one of the toasted barrels. This was before I tried yours. And then I was like 50th in line. I was like, oh, surely I'll get something. Everything sold out before I even got to the register, or, got to the pit. And I was like,
oh, man.
I was like, people are that crazy about this Michter's toasted barrel stuff? I was like, no way.
Oh, yeah.
But after I tried it, oh, yeah. And I think these big distilleries just definitely, they found out, it was flying off the shelf. They couldn't keep it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's funny because some people say, they use toasted in there, like Basil Hayden's. Obviously, it's called Basil Hayden's Toasted. It's huge. It's orangey, like a fire on the label. And then you've got like 1910 Old Forester, which obviously it's double oaked, but it's not. They don't list it as toasted.
Right.
I guess technically you could call it toasted because it's been in a secondary barrel. Same thing with double oaked. I guess they call it double oaked, but they don't call it toasted. But there's so many brands now that are just using that word toasted, and there's really, I guess, no true definition. Because toast could be anything, right?
Right. Like we've got, when you think about like Woodford Double Oaked, it goes from a charred barrel to a charred barrel with a toast. 1910 goes from a charred barrel to a toasted barrel with a char on top of that. And so it's just vice versa. And if you read the story on the back of the bottle for 1910, they'll tell you, the warehouse burned down fire, and all that stuff. So, you're getting an extra oakier bourbon, but the story for them is what sells it. And Michter's just was like, hey, we're Michter's Toasted. And then things like Elijah Craig Toasted, which, the world went nuts over that.
Right.
And that was one that I thought kind of fell short. I don't know.
Well, I was just going to ask you guys.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
I think we're all kind of.
do you have a disappointing
or a concur with this one? And going back to Philip, kind of touching on what you were saying, where we first saw Michter's doing it with the toasted, and that's where everybody kind of got the idea, I think, from toasting. I think Michter's was the first to do it, and maybe the best to do it. I've had a few different toasted offerings.
Oh yeah.
And I got to go back to Michter. I think
that toasted barrel rye, man. I don't. There's not much in my mind that can touch that. Honestly.
No.
Theirs is just so consistent.
Sure.
You can.
Yeah.
I've had several. I don't want to say. I've had 3 bottles of Elijah Craig Toasted since it came out from 3 different states, and each one of them was vastly different. None of them I was a fan of.
Yeah.
I gave them all away.
Oh, yeah.
The Nulu stuff is, that's MGP, that's toasted. Those are all single barrels, so those are all going to vary. But Michter's, it's consistent. From every bottle that I've had or tried, I can know from this year to this year to this batch.
Right.
Consistent.
Well, that's what I was going to ask that question of you guys. What toasted release has been somewhat of a maybe letdown or a disappointment? But I think we just got the answer right there. And and I agree. And I was going to even say that myself because, you guys know, man, Elijah Craig is my thing. I love Elijah Craig. I will drink barrel proof, and you can see bottles here, Matt. Every time you go to Michigan, I'm like, here's some money, man. Buy me every Elijah Craig barrel proof you can find, So, and I'll drink Elijah Craig barrel proof, and even just a small batch, these store picks of Elijah Craig. I'll drink that anytime, man. But I got that first bottle of the toasted. I was so excited, opened it up, and I was just like, because did we review it on one of the episodes?
I think we did.
Yeah, I think we both were just like.
One of the things I always love about just the regular 94 proof Elijah Craig is how spicy it comes across.
Yeah.
And for me, when I want toasted, I want something sweet. And I felt they didn't go far enough. Maybe it didn't sit long enough. Maybe there wasn't enough toast, but it just too much spice coming through with it. Not enough of kind of that sweet marshmallowy characteristic.
All right, so guys, we should probably, because we're kind of running over here, but that's always fun. Let's talk about the Walker's. See, I want to see Walker's Key, Walker's K. Let's talk about that. What do you guys think in terms of the palate and the finish on this one?
Nice spice up front.
Yeah.
Pick up that 21% rye. It's
definitely
got a really great spice. Then it's leading through to some nice corn, some good caramel, some sweetness coming through. I get some more of that fig, good vanilla. I've actually got to say, I really am a fan.
Okay. Chad, what about you, man?
I enjoy it as well. I wish there was a little. Sherry is one of my favorite finishes to do on any kind of whiskey, Scotch included. So I really wanted more of those sharp tannins and dried fruit. But
Yeah.
as far as what it does to this bourbon, because the grain does come through, it really softens that.
Yeah.
And I think it amplifies the rye spice a little more.
Yeah, seriously, I agree. Philip, what about you, man? What do you get?
So I get hit with a lot of corn right off the bat, and then I do get a little bit of the rye bread. To me, I think the finish falls a little flat, and then right after the finish, like the tingle goes up your tongue. I'm getting like a medicinal, like cherry cough syrup kind of taste.
Are you really?
So I don't know why, and I guess it's maybe from the sherry cask, but yeah, I would say this one would not be one that I would.
It's a miss for you. Okay, no, that's fair, man. Because usually I'm in that same boat with you, Philip. But I'll be honest on this one. The rye spice up front, like you said, Matt, man, that's the first thing. As soon as I took a taste, it was like that spiciness hit the tongue. It was like that's a very nice spiciness. You get a little sweetness off of it as well. I did, Philip. You talked about the corn coming through on the nose. I get a little bit of that corn sweetness coming through on the palate as well. So I don't know if that means it's younger or if it's in my head because you said it, Philip. But I like the combination of spiciness and I like with the sweetness from the corn. The finish, it's not super long, but as much as Chad would love to have had a tannic finish that dries him out and makes him pucker up. I'm very excited to not have that impact on me.
So I usually, honestly, like this one, I usually like, the corn. I feel like it's maybe the sherry cask that's just kind of mixed with the corn that's throwing me off because
I get it.
Honestly, like this one, I would say it's like mellow corn, aged, with sherry cask, and it just doesn't. Yeah, it just don't sit right with my palate.
Okay, I got you. I do like it. I like it, Matt. You like it, obviously. Chad.
Yeah, actually, I think I could.
Yeah, I like
could
it.
drink this all day.
Yeah, sorry it's not tannic enough for you.
It's all right, man. I like my tannins.
And you know what? Matt, is there a MSRP on there?
There's not.
I'm not sure what this one runs, to be honest. I don't know. And I'm not sure what the distribution is. I'm sorry to say that, but if you guys get a chance, just check it out. It's King Spirits, right? King Spirits is the company.
Yep, King Spirits.
And Walker's K, but it's
Walker's K,
C-A-Y. Walker's K. Kentucky Straight Bourbon, finished. It's not finished in sherry casks. It's finished with sherry staves.
Right.
So there's a difference, obviously. So I guess they're dropping staves in the barrels, or they're just running it over. I don't know.
Could be. I mean, there's no real
There's no definition.
Of what when you finish with a stave.
Yeah.
So
and their marketing info they sent doesn't really go into detail about the finishing process. So it could just be that they're dropping kind of like makers, putting staves in the barrel, finishing staves in the barrel. So who knows? But anyway, yeah, I think we got 3 thumbs up and 1 thumb down there, Philip. So
that's all right. I'll stand strong by myself.
All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's wrap up the session, and we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more with the Bourbon Life crew in just a minute. So everybody just sit tight, and we'll be back in just a minute. Thanks. Hey, Bourbon Lifers. When you're out hunting for those hard-to-find bottles or just enjoying the distilleries of Central Kentucky, you're going to work up an appetite. And when it's time to refuel, we suggest that you visit our good friends Rebecca and Eric Burnworth at the Stave Restaurant. Located at 5711 McCracken Pike in Millville, Kentucky, close to Castle and Key and Woodford Reserve, the Stave Restaurant is just off the beaten path, nestled on the banks of Glens Creek. With a newly redesigned menu, Chef Kyle Klatka prepares amazing food each day featuring an elevated Kentucky-inspired cuisine. You can take our word for it. The food alone is worth the trip to the Stave. With a full-service bar, great bourbon flights, and signature cocktails, the Stave is the perfect place to catch up with friends after a fun-filled day of touring the local distilleries. And you can even purchase bottles of bourbon to take home with you while you're there. Make sure to follow the Stave on Instagram and Facebook at The Stave Kentucky, or visit them online at thestavekentucky.com to stay up to date on everything that's going on. The Stave Restaurant is a bourbon lover's paradise, right here in the heart of bourbon country. All right, everybody, welcome back for round or session 2, or as Matt said, whatever you want to call it, of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me, as always, live in the Bourbon Life Studios this evening is my good friend, my buddy, my pal, Matt. Matt, how you doing over there? You just don't look happy at all tonight, Matt. Are you okay, man? Yeah, you just look like you're
that for?
You look like you're worn out. Just worn out.
You've
You've been training too hard, Matt. You need to take it easy.
Take
That's
it
what he's
easy,
doing
son.
tonight.
Yeah, that's why we're here. We're here in the Bourbon Life studios. We got the Bourbon Life Crewdio here.
Crudio. Look at
Wait, can I
that.
do it? Can I do it? Wait, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it?
Fine.
No, that's the wrong one. Wait,
That's
hold
what
on.
you should have hit after.
There you go.
Anyway, okay.
Awesome.
Should have used the trombone for the Elijah Craig Toasted.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's good. Good point. Yeah, I promise I won't use those anymore at all. I can probably edit those sounds out, but now everybody's going to be wondering what we just did. So I'm going to have to leave those in. Sorry about that, guys. But yes, Matt, I'm glad you're here with us, of course. And I think you're training too hard, man. I mean, you're happy when your Ironman's over. You got how much? 4 weeks?
Yep, month out.
Nice.
A little over.
Yeah. You're going to kill it, dude. Kill it.
We'll see.
Yeah, you will. All right, man. So what are we drinking this round? Who wants to jump up on this one?
Ooh, let me.
Yeah, there you go.
We are drinking Off Hours Bourbon. It
There you
is
go.
a 95 proof, sourced from MGP, comprised of their low rye mash bill at 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley, aged at least 4 years and maybe 5, according to this little sheet that I have.
Yeah, that's my notes. It's like 4, maybe 5. I'm not sure. The things I saw something on Instagram. Okay, so here's the funny thing, right? So I never like to date the shows, but we're going to date the show because today on Instagram, there were like 3 different accounts that are pretty big accounts that I follow that all had pictures of Off Hours Bourbon. And I was like, what the heck? It's like everybody's doing Off Hours. So I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna put it on the show tonight, you know. But somebody had said that it was a 5-year-old bourbon. But I saw online, it's not on their website, but somebody online had reviewed it and said that it's a 4-year-old. And again, there's no age statement on the bottle. So this one is not a finished bourbon, so it has to have an age statement if it's under 4 years. So it doesn't. So we know it's at least 4 years, right?
Right?
All right. So got Jake Ireland is the guy that owns this company. He lives in California, from what I understand. He's originally from Lawrenceburg, Indiana, where MGP is located, and he developed this. Chad, you said it great during the break. What'd you call it? The brand? It's a
lifestyle brand.
lifestyle brand. There you go. So Jake is a self-professed millennial, and he says that he has observed the drinking habits of millennials and upcoming Gen Zers who are entering that drinking age now. And this is a brand that he thinks will appeal to them. That's what his goal was. So if you can see, I mean, the bottle itself, and I put a picture up on Instagram, but the label is just black and white.
Yeah, it's very understated.
Sure.
Very modern.
Yeah. The bottle shape is I really like the bottle shape. I think that's a really cool bottle shape. The label is very understated, just black and white, simple, just says Off Hours Bourbon. What's that?
Only from the pictures, it kind of reminds me of the Widow Jane bottle.
Yeah,
that's what
I was thinking.
yeah.
I think it's the same glass.
Pursuit,
You're right.
same
Pursuit
glass.
series as well.
Good call, Philip, man. Good catch.
Yeah, Pursuit. Yeah,
Pursuit
Really
series.
yeah.
Yeah. I think, good point, man. They must have had a special, right, on glass. No, I'm just kidding.
Or Pursuit United, I should say. Pursuit United.
That's right. Yeah, different. Yeah, not the Pursuit series, but the Pursuit United. So, good call, Philip. Good catch on that one. But I think, I definitely think you're right. So, anyway, so Jake Ireland, but Ashley Barnes, who also she's a master blender. She works out of Louisville. I can't remember the name of the company she's with, unfortunately. But when we interviewed Jeff and Jenny Pennington down at Pennington Distilling, Davidson Reserve, but it's Pennington Distilling.
Davidson Reserve.
Yeah, we talked to them, and
brand.
Ashley was also doing the blending for them. So Ashley does a great job. So she's doing the blending on this for them. I saw that on Instagram. I didn't know that otherwise, but I saw that on Instagram today, that Ashley's doing the blending for them. So what do you guys think, man? What are you picking up in terms of the nose? Philip, since you're not here with us, man, and we got to you last, I'm going to start with you this time.
So on the nose, I definitely get smoke right off the bat, like a smoky, and then some oak and corn come through, a little bit of caramel, and then it's also got kind of that rye burn, but I definitely get the smoky corn on this one.
Gotcha. Chad, what about you, man? You're shaking your head in approval, like Philip said it right, or at least got part of it right.
No, I was just nodding to him, just him talking.
Because there's music in your head. And
yeah,
you're just like,
easy listening is Philip's
Hey,
voice.
that's the second best palate in Kentucky. He knows what's
That's
up.
right, man. It's soon to be the first bet. We'll get back to that in just a minute.
yeah.
But yeah, so
On the nose, I get just I can see where he gets the smoke. I get like the charred oak, a little bit of that burnt caramel, a little bit of a toasted bread, which is weird for this rye. Maybe like a little bit of a rye bread. I mean, it's very pleasant and decadent. The rye grain though does punch through, a little sharp on the nose,
yeah.
but I enjoy it.
Matt, what about you, man?
At first, I really was not a fan of it. I got a lot of kind of that new refined corn, that like straight off the still kind of young grainy corn. A little bit of butterscotch, which is not my favorite.
Gotcha.
On the nose as well, but it's as it's sitting in the glass and as I'm swirling it around, it's coming around and opening up quite a bit more.
Yeah.
I get a lot of corn with it. I get like cornmeal, fresh grits kind of aroma to it. I pick up a little bit of something like a little raisin too.
Okay.
Just like some raisin coming across, I think, on it.
You guys, it may just. I'm getting alcohol. It seems like I'm picking up a lot of alcohol on the nose on this one. I don't know if it's just because, well, I've been swirling it for a while here, so I would have thought that would have dissipated, but I keep picking up more alcohol. But I do also get the oakiness, like kind of weird that because I don't think this is that old at all. So it's kind of weird that I'm getting that, and it could just be the power of suggestion from you guys. But
I do think it definitely has a strong oak for a 4 to 5 year old.
And that's MGP juice typically does. I don't know what it is, but you'll usually get, and it's not always a pleasant oak note. Sometimes it's kind of like Old Barn.
yeah,
And you'll get that note on there. And it's like, eh.
Yeah, I kind of get. For me, it's kind of coming through a little bit leather, a little bit tobacco.
Yeah.
And not in the good
not in a good way. for
way,
you? Okay.
in my opinion, unfortunately.
No, that's all right. All right, so we got the nose covered here, and this one's light too. I'm kind of surprised looking at it in the glass. So, what do you guys think about that in terms of color? I mean, I know nobody can see what we're talking about, but it's almost as light. I think it's as light as the Walker's K almost.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. And it's oddly enough doesn't have nearly as much oils. Like looking at the glass, the Walker's K was very, like it clung to the glass, and this one is just not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, guys. So, what do you want to talk about this round, man? We got a whole second round here to talk about and share some things, and what sounds good.
You want to do San Francisco
Yeah, man.
spirits?
Let's talk a little bit about that. They put out a list, right, Chad? So,
Kind of, sort of. On their Instagram page, they've just been showcasing just certain items that have won awards. And I mean, some of the stuff's your typical items that win every year, but a couple of them caught my eye because no one's ever given something like Russell's Reserve Single Barrel Rye much attention.
Yeah.
And like this year, it looks like it won some awards. I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever had Russell's Rye or not from Wild Turkey.
I have not, Matt. I mean, you're a rye guy, so
Yeah, you got me thinking if I have or not. You always wonder with a single barrel though if
Yeah.
they're just sending off that
yeah,
one that's like so misrepresentative of the brand.
yeah.
And that was one thing I want to talk about. 'cause
Like Henry McKenna. No,
Henry McKenna, E.H. Taylor winning like best whiskey of the world last year. So
yeah,
Yeah, you always do run that risk, right? When you have a single barrel category, and which is great. That's
Right.
That's the beauty of the single barrel is sometimes there are just those absolutely phenomenal barrels out there that
sure.
just stand the test of time. But I can think of more than one bottle of Blanton's that I would have rather just dumped.
the trombone and push that
Yeah,
sound down.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh man, yeah. Matt's gonna be like, Jesus, do we got to do that? No, we're not gonna do that anymore, Matt. So,
But I mean, do you think that's going to drive anyone to pursue Russell's Rye now? I mean, because at work it sits on my shelf, and me and a couple like rye fans or some turkey geeks will talk about it, but it's not one that like typically moves it. And I mean, Wild Turkey is one of those companies who used to produce rye like once what was it, once every season, like once every 6 months or something,
like once a day out of the year,
Yeah.
or 6 days. What did he say? We had Eddie on the show, didn't he? Talk about
Yeah,
that. He was like,
their run used to be like
6 days.
3 or 6 days. Now it's like 3 3 weeks or something.
I mean,
or
yeah,
3 months.
It was like, yeah, no, whatever. But now, obviously, his sons, he's starting to push him. Yeah, they're starting to do obviously more. But look at McKenna. I mean, nobody really cared much about it. It's set on the shelves. It wins, the whatever was it.
It was
world's best whiskey, or no?
It was San Francisco number one.
That's right.
Yeah.
At San Francisco, and then it was like.
And when was that? 2019 when that won?
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
So I feel like because the McKenna was in 2018, which that's when I started like hunting bottles.
Yeah.
I feel like at that time it meant something with the world's best, and I think at this point now it's just whatever's like insta famous at the time. And of course, like your Wellers, anything by Flood Trace, it doesn't matter what it is. Now, I don't know that the awards really move the needle that much, because sometimes I see bottles winning awards and I'm like, what contest was this from?
Yeah.
Well,
let me ask you.
Everybody wins an award now, so I don't know that it holds up the same weight.
So let's talk about that then, Philip, because you said you really started hunting in 2018. So at that point in time, if you saw, so think about somebody right now in 2021, if they're just getting into hunting themselves, if they see something like this and it says that they won best whiskey at a prestigious competition, I mean, do you think, like you in 2018, if you saw that about McKenna, would you think, oh my gosh, this is a big award, this is a big competition, I really need to try to track this down?
Yeah, I think I would have then.
Right.
I know I did then, but not
now, right?
I don't know. No, I feel like now that it's gotten so, like, bourbon has gotten so popular, and there's just so much, and so I feel like a Russell's Rye, everybody sees Russell's on the shelf no matter where you go.
Sure.
So immediately in their head they're like, well, I can get that anytime. It's not that special. Whereas like the McKenna, yeah, you used to be able to get it, but then the bourbon nuts who were in it, early on or earlier, everybody just buy it up. So they're like, oh, this is fantastic. So
yeah.
I think it's just changed a lot from that time.
So for a seasoned person, maybe the awards might not mean as much. What do you guys think, Matt, Chad?
Yeah, I think for a seasoned person, what you like, and
sure, okay.
Whether or not it wins an award is just something that you can talk about with it, or something that goes with the brand. If you enjoy it, then you enjoy it. If you know enough to know that you do or you don't, it doesn't seem like an award from a spirits competition should do much. Now it is, I think, as we were saying, if it's something you've never heard of and it pulls some clout at a contest, at an award ceremony, or at one of these at San Francisco or something, I think there's definitely something to be said about that, to give it a try, especially if you are seasoned.
Yeah.
Why not? If other seasoned drinkers have said something about it, but is that a reason to just go out and believe it? No. But someone that knows what they know, I don't think an award ceremony means too much.
That makes sense. Chad, what about you, man? What do you think?
I've never been one to really go for the awards ceremony thing, especially early on, like when I really got like deep into whiskey in 2017, 2018. Like when I first really cared about it, I wasn't one who really looked at this won an award. It was more or less I was going on and reading articles at like Breaking Bourbon and those kind of places. Like,
sure, right?
What is this person saying about it? Not what did this panel who they say those aren't, you don't pay for a shot there. You pay for the entry fee. Blind tasted, so on and so forth. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure anyone who's been a part of that, if you listen to this, you can let us know. But I would be more keen to listen to you tell me, Mark or Matt, this is good, versus the possibility of it saying we won 5 gold medals.
Right.
Because I've tried stuff that's won, 5 gold medals, and I'm thinking like there must have been no one else in this in this category for you to have won. Yeah. I mean, you ran unopposed and you came out on top.
Well, that's a good point too. Go ahead, Philip.
And I was going to say, so I guess kind of what I was saying or trying to say is like, okay, so like when I met you and Matt and, we were sitting in line at releases, you had just started the Bourbon Life Instagram page. Like there was no podcast. And like I didn't even have an Instagram account at that time. So like at that time, it was literally whatever, Bourbon Pursuit or like Chad said, Breaking Bourbon was posting,
right.
or, just whatever liquor bar would send out in a release and like, this is special. And it's like, okay, well, those are special. Well, now you've got brands that are becoming like insta famous, like a Smoke Wagon.
Right.
They might have won a bunch of awards. I don't know, but I know everybody's posting about it on Instagram. So it's like, oh, I got to try that.
Right.
Or, like now this one we're trying right now, Off Hours. The last 2 weeks, I've been seeing this bottle pop up everywhere. And I'm like, okay, so maybe this one's good. People are posting about it. So that make you go out and buy it. I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like the market's changed to where if it's getting posted online, you get that social media bump, then your business is going to do good if you've got a good to decent product.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a certain element of the FOMO, man, the fear of missing out. Somebody posts a bottle, somebody posts something, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've not seen that. Wait, where is that? Where can I find it? How much is that? Can I get it? I can't get it. Well, it's not available in my city. Where is it? What do you guys think, Matt? What do you think about that?
Yeah, to me, that's Woodinville.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
I think you just described them. In my humble opinion, it's good, but I think that brand blew up.
Yeah,
from my take on things, because it's not my favorite. I've had a couple of their different offerings, and it's good, but
yeah, it's not
for the price tag for what it is. I think I would pass on it all day.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Chad, what about you, man?
Smoke Wagon was that brand for me. I mean, because it's not distributed in Kentucky. They don't have plans to come to Kentucky.
Right.
I mean, that they kind of got popular because of like a Instagram feud, I guess you could say. So, and I mean, I'm not trying to, poke the bear there, but Mark, is your phone going off?
It is, man. It is. Sorry, guys.
But I mean, that was one that once I finally was able to get it, like I waited until a friend of mine went to Tennessee for work and he was like, "You want a bottle of Smoke Wagon?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I mean, MGP juice, and I love MGP. I'm like, this is just fine, but I'm not going to go, fight someone for it. I'm not going to go, to arm's length because there's tons of MGP out there. It may not be blended the same way that Aaron's blending it, but I mean, at the same time though, there's just so much out there that I can't see why there's the hype, which I'm happy for him.
Sure.
They're doing successful, but, social media has totally taken over as far as, you okay, Philip?
Yeah. I'm just sitting here listening. Yeah.
It sounded like it was a crash.
I don't know what that was, man.
No, I don't. It wasn't on my end. Yeah, I don't know what that was.
But yeah, social media has totally taken over, I think, instead of the awards, for most people at least.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good point, man. I mean, social media does drive a lot of the interest, and like I said today, I mean, what we're drinking right now, the Off Hours, they sent it to me last week, and I saw it posted on 3 different accounts just today. So I thought, you know what? Sure, man. I mean, obviously they sent it to us. We deserve to. We owe it to them. They deserve for us to taste it. So let's do it. So yeah. So I posted it up on our Instagram, and obviously we're going to review it tonight. So getting to that, what do you guys think in terms of the flavor profile on it and the palate, the finish? What do you get?
A lot of pepper up front, a lot of spice right on the front. I think almost. I don't want to say too much because, man, I love some spice up front, but I think it mutes out a little bit of the rest of the palate. Although I'm getting some nice, good corn coming through again, like that nice buttered cornbread coming through with it. The rye spices coming through. There's something a little sweet, like a little bit of caramel or even like a touch of licorice. That's
what I was
with it.
MGP, I always get red licorice. It's always like just that strong red licorice note, and then there's like a little bit of anise on the back end, anise, whatever you want to call it.
Huh.
But I always picked up those 2 notes on MGP juice.
Interesting. Yeah. So Philip, what about you, man? What do you get?
I'm kind of right there with them. I don't know that there's anything I'm really picking up outside of that. I mean, I think it's a pretty basic bourbon, but it's not bad. I mean, I would drink it. I don't, depending on the price point, of course. But if it's like a $30 or less bottle, I think it's definitely not a bad bottle to pick up.
The price point, I think that's supposed to be like the selling point for this one. It's like 35 maybe or 40, supposedly. I can't remember.
I'm Googling.
But I think that's the goal, is that it's like no frills, straightforward. The label is just very generic. It's just supposed to be a bourbon that doesn't lean too much to sweetness. It doesn't lend too much to the oakiness aged. It's supposed to be somewhere in between, and just, it's a lifestyle brand.
That's right.
Yeah. So do you see the price anywhere?
Price point looks to be around $40 to $45.
Okay.
So I've had stuff that costs more that's MGP sourced that's tasted worse.
Yeah.
I am an MGP fanboy. This is just your basic quintessential MGP notes for $40. I think it's fine.
I like the rye coming through though, Matt. And I think I say that in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't know that this is something I would sit and drink by itself all the time, but I think in a cocktail, I think this would be really nice because that rye, because it comes through pretty strong on the front. I think this would cut through a lot of sweetness if you put it in an old fashioned or something.
Yeah.
A Negroni, Boulevard.
You know what this would be good in?
What's that?
7 and 7.
A 7 and 7. Gotcha.
With some 7-Up.
Yeah.
Just like some sweet old soda in there.
Just come, yeah. And
I think it would cut through that well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would too, Matt. And it was funny because when they emailed me, they sent me a link for like a bunch of recipes. So I don't know if that's what their primary focus is, that it's going to be driven toward, hey, mix this.
Well, I mean, like especially since COVID, craft cocktails have kind of taken off. And I mean, it's priced to the point to where, like when I first got into drinking bourbon, I wasn't spending $40 on a bottle to put in cocktails.
Sure.
I was buying like, VOB 100 in a handle for like $20. But I mean, this is there to where it's got the spice that it would cut through. And I think it's perfectly made to be a cocktail bourbon.
Yeah, I agree. Philip, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think in a cocktail, I think this would really shine through. It'd be like Matt said, like with a 7-Up or maybe like a ginger beer or something like that. Maybe a little bit of like peach schnapps.
Mountain Dew.
It would really
Mountain Dew.
There you go. There you go. That's what Mountain Dew is made for.
That's funny, man. Because now that I'm just drinking it more, it's like on the finish even I'm getting almost like a pepper finish, like a black pepper, and that's just. I mean, the spiciness was up front and then it didn't turn sweet, but on the finish now I'm starting to get almost like a black pepper.
Yeah, it really hits like 30 seconds later. That black pepper just comes back.
Yeah, I almost think it's almost unnecessarily spicy going down the line.
That's pretty. Yeah, it's
There's
like
a bold statement from a guy that really loves his spice. But if I want spice, I think I want it with a little more flavor than just heat and spice. It's almost like it blows the finish away.
I got you. So that's almost too much of the focus. It's like there's just too much of the spice to it, which makes sense. Yeah, I get it. All right, guys. Well, I guess you know what? I forgot to set the timer, so I have no idea how long we recorded this session. So I think we've done a pretty good job on this one, though. So what do you think? Final thoughts, though, on this one? Yes or no?
I'm going to thumbs down this one.
Okay. Chad?
I'd be the sideways thumbs if we're going that route. I mean, I think it's fine for what it is. It to me, it'd be a $40 cocktail bourbon. Something that I'd really want if I'm going to have like a few old fashions in a row and I want that punch and spice.
Right.
But yeah, this wouldn't be one that I'd sit and just pour neat.
Right. I get it. Philip, what about you, man?
Yeah, I'm in the same way. I'm a sideways thumb on this one. Probably if it had another, let's say 2 or 3 years on it at this price point, then I think it would settle into a good sipping bourbon. But yeah, I think it needs a couple more years.
Yeah, I'm going to go sideways on this one too, man. I don't want to give it a thumbs down because I'm not at that point, but you guys, I'm like fanning my tongue. It's like, seriously, it's like I bit into a black peppercorn. It's like one of those peppercorns get stuck in your teeth after dinner, and like 30 minutes later, you're like, oh, what's that? And it's like you bite into it, and you're like, oh shit, that's a black peppercorn, and then your mouth just is full of heat and spice. Kind of getting that same thing on the finish on this one. So, gonna call it sideways. Not gonna give it a thumbs down because I think in a cocktail it'd be good, but that's a lot of money probably to spend just to have a
cocktail,
a bottle to put. Yeah, a bottle just to blend up a cocktail with. So,
that's
all right, guys.
California prices.
California pricing. That's exactly right.
Lifestyle pricing.
There you go. All right, guys, let's take a quick break, get a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. Everybody just sit tight, hang out, and we'll be back with the final session of the Bourbon Life Podcast in just a minute. Hey, Bourbon Lifers. We want to take just a second and tell you a little bit about Three Chord Whiskey. Three Chord's line of whiskeys embody the spirit of creativity. The whiskey is a true collaboration between producer and composer Neil Giraldo and master blender distiller Ari Sussman. The Three Chord team of expert blenders, coopers, and sensory professionals have developed a multi-step process they call perfectly tuned taste. This process begins by carefully selecting the finest bourbon and rye whiskeys from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana, and then blending them all together. After each blend is completed, the Three Chord team then applies their proprietary process of pyrolysis, that's a lot to say, isn't it? Which involves heating American oak to precise temperatures to release specific flavor and aroma compounds. Then they use another proprietary method called rhythmic disruption process, and that's more than just playing music to a bunch of barrels, which integrates all of those related compounds into the blended spirit. Finally, each small batch blend of Three Chord is evaluated by a trained sensory panel to ensure an uncommon depth of flavor, character, aroma, and a perfectly tuned taste in each bottle. With their introductory blended bourbon, their Amplify Rye, Strange Collaboration, which is a Pinot Noir finished Kentucky bourbon, their 94 rated 12 bar reserve, and the brand new highly coveted 15-year Kentucky bourbon they call the Whiskey Drummer, there's a lot of options available from Three Chord. Like the feeling you get when you hear that perfect song, you'll know that the Three Chord line of whiskeys are right from the first sip. They resonate with so much flavor, you'll want an encore. Find out more about Three Chord whiskeys and distribution in your area at www.threechordbourbon.com. All right, everybody, welcome back for the third and final session round period of the Bourbon Life Podcast. I'm your host, Mark. With me, as always, is my good friend, Matt. Matt, how you doing, man?
Hey, Mark, I'm great, man. We're back for the third course.
Ooh,
Even
I like that.
of the Bourbon Life Podcast this evening. And we
It's
got
like
the
Thanksgiving dinner.
That's
Yes,
right.
You can't get enough of it, man.
That's right. The only thing better than Thanksgiving dinner is Thanksgiving dinner the day after Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. Good point. And we got our buddies with us tonight, man. It's like this is what I consider the Bourbon Life crew. Mm-hmm. So Chad is with us from My Daily Bourbon, and Philip, I always want to say Bourbon Hunting Kentucky, but I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, it is. It's Bourbon Hunting KY, but Bourbon Hunting Kentucky.
There you go.
If they type it in, that's what'll come up. Yeah.
There you go, man. All right. I just, I hate to, diss your name. I'm not trying to diss it. I'm like, I just couldn't remember exactly if it was how it was. So, all right, good. Well, I'm glad we got that squared away, man. All right. So who wants to jump in on this one, man? I don't have the bottle with me, so not that we need it because this one's special.
At 92.8 proof, this is this year's release, of the Michter's 10-year rye.
Oh, Matt, it's so funny, man.
And that's all you got to say.
When I was picking these out today, I was like, I knew Philip wouldn't be here, and I was like, man, I got to find some things that we've got here that I can get over to Philip, so he's got them tonight. And I was like, oh, you know what? We've got a couple things people have sent to us, and one of those bottles is the 10-year rye. I was like, Matt is going to love that for sure, man. So, and it's funny tonight because you're like, what are you going to drink? Which order are we going to go? And you're like, let's do the rye for last.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad we did, man. So let's just jump right into the nose, man. What do you guys get on this? Matt, I'm going to jump back to you on this one. Wait. I did Matt first. I did Philip second. Chad.
I get just a lot of like a toasted sweet oak, some molasses.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of dill, but not a lot. This may sound like it really reminds me of just like the high rye Four Roses recipe. Like I'm getting some of that ripe red fruit in there, a little bit of mint. But it does, like on the nose, it doesn't read as just a rye whiskey. It's not overwhelmingly rye. It's like a perfectly balanced on the nose.
I don't think I put mash bill undisclosed because I went back to check the notes when we had Dan McKee, the master distiller, on the show, and everything was like, we really don't disclose.
They don't disclose who they source from or
anything. They have 3 phases.
Well,
right?
Yeah, they're in phase 3 now.
Yeah, there you go. Right, so 3 phases. So,
but this should still be sourced.
But this 10-year would be sourced. I think you're right. I think this is going to be a sourced 10-year and undisclosed as to where and what it is. Matt, what are you getting on it?
At first, it was really weird. The first thing that I really picked out on the nose, and this is a rye, mind you, but the first thing that I smelled was buttered popcorn.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
At first, I got a really, really strong nose of buttered popcorn, and then more of that the rye grain specifically baked
Yeah.
came through. The baked rye is coming through, and now I'm getting like a little bit of green apple
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
on it as well, and some cardamom, a little caraway, rye spice. Some of that dill that you were talking about is coming through, Chad, but it's got a lot of herbs, very herbal nose coming through, kind of floral with it that way
Yeah.
as well. But there's still like that, I don't know, there's still that buttered popcorn.
I'm picking up some bubble gum, guys. I'm sorry. I just, for some reason, rye sometimes, and this isn't a high proof rye, but for some reason, this is coming across with me with a little bit of bubblegum sweetness. Philip, what about you? What are you getting?
Now that you said it, I can smell the bubble gum.
Yeah.
But I-
Power of suggestions
yeah.
working on me too.
Yeah, there you go.
I
Okay.
definitely so I get almost like a Werther's caramel originally.
Okay.
Like it just makes my mouth water. I'm like, oh, that smells so good.
Yeah.
And then I get a little bit of mint and maybe some like leather, a little bit of leather, and I think it's probably from the barrel, the age, the 10-year. And then as I'm pulling the glass away, I get like a sweet, almost, I don't know if it's like a strawberry or like a Granny Smith apple, but it's definitely like a sweet fruit note there.
Yeah, that's what I'm having trouble with that too, man. Because Matt said the green apple and you said strawberry. And I'm like, I'm kind of like torn now with the power of suggestion between those two. But there is a sweet fruit, but a little bit of tartness coming through as well, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, I would think it would have to be like a Granny Smith, something like when you bite into it, it would kind of have like a little bit of a sour taste.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like a ruby red or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And those bottles, gosh, I wish everybody could see the bottles. I love
Oh yeah.
the Michter's bottles. They're just so that thick glass at the bottom that you can see through.
They're super regal.
They are, man.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful glass, man. Absolutely love it. And thankful, for everybody, Walker's, Kay, and Off Hours for sending us bottles, and also to Michter's for sending us this 10-year rye. But just, I'm becoming like a Michter's homeboy. I mean, seriously, since we had Dan on the show, seriously, I was just super impressed with him.
Yeah, how humble.
Seriously. I mean, the shit that they're doing, what they're putting out, the products and things, and I know Andrea Wilson has played a huge role in what they're doing, and he acknowledges that as well. Obviously, I guess she's still their
Master of maturation.
master of maturation, right? So it's a great team, and what they're doing it's pretty amazing. But
They're so underrated as a brand. Like, I mean, people chase, the Celebration, the Sour Mash,
sure, right.
the Toasteds, the 10 years, but I mean, just their regular bourbon, their rye,
yeah.
and their unblended whiskey. I mean, they're phenomenal $40 bottles, and they get so overlooked by the special release stuff.
We always forget that rye is a single barrel.
Just
Their
I know,
everyday
just-
rye.
Yeah. It's like, wait, what? Yeah, because
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, we've got a bottle. It's funny because when we did the show, and that's not, this isn't a critique of them, right? So a lot of brands, they'll send us bottles to share on the show, right? So we'll drink it. But Michter's, it didn't happen. And I don't ask. I'm not like, hey, you send us the bottles and we'll drink them and we'll review them. So Michter's, I was like, what do you guys want to drink? And they're like, we'll drink this, this, and this. And I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, wait, I don't have the regular bourbon and the rye. So I go over to Liquor Barn and sorry, Chad. I went to Total Wine and picked up the bottles. But man, and I don't think I even realized that the rye was a single barrel. And it's amazing.
So is all the barrel strength stuff. It's all single barrel as well.
Crazy,
barrel
man.
strength bourbon and the rye, single barrels.
So definitely some good stuff. So what do you guys, this round, man, we got some topics, one topic that we wanted to focus on, right? So what do you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, I think this was Philip's topic. What do you got for us, Philip?
Yeah, so I was wanting to know what everybody's anticipated release was for, I guess, Bourbon Heritage Month which that's September, into October, and then I think maybe some release in November, but usually September, October is like the hard-hitting release months of anything special bourbon.
Well, Philip, you're the bourbon hunting guy. So yeah, man. So let's start with you, man. What is the one thing, what's the one release that you're really looking forward to?
so of course I would love to get my hands on, the antique collection, anything like that. But the bottle, I went on Breaking Bourbon, and I don't know if you guys look at it, they have a release calendar.
Yeah.
And I don't know where they get their information, but they have everything.
Yep.
And so the one that stood out to me, and especially for the price point, was the Remus Repeal Reserve Series 5. It's 100 proof. It's a blend of MGP 9% from 2015. It's a 21% rye, which is 16 years old. And then there's a 5% 2005 bourbon that's 36% rye, 16 years old. And then there's the 19% 2006 bourbon, 21% rye, 15 years old. The 13% 2008 bourbon, 21% rye, that's 13 years old. And then a 54% 2008 bourbon that's 36% rye, which is, of course, 13 years old. So that one, there is a lot of aged bourbon in there. And for $90 and a special release, there's not too many with that kind of age that you can get for $90 anymore.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
I mean, the price point, if that was, when I'm reading what's the blend, I'm like thinking Four Roses, limited edition because of the ages.
Right.
And that's $150 versus $90.
Yeah,
So,
it seems like maybe they're going after Four Roses there.
That old Seagram's rivalry.
There you go. That's a good point. Yeah.
And I think at the price point, they're definitely going to make some waves. I don't know how much they've got, of that to release, but I definitely think that one is one I would love to get my hands on.
And I feel like until last year, it kind of went under the radar for the most part. When Series 3, but Series 4 for the most, I see, people actively came into the store and were, do you have, Remus Repeal and, what series do you have? Do you, how much is it? $70. Remus. And that's a great value. You're getting 12-year-old bourbon in there from the source itself.
Oh yeah. Well, we had batch 4. We had the guys from MGP on the show, and we drank the batch 4 with them amongst. God, we had 5 different things that night. That was a big show.
It's a great show.
It was. It really was. But they sent us a bottle of that batch 4, the Remus special, the Repeal Reserve. Yeah. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really good. Matt? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, Chad, what about you, man? What are you looking forward to? Is there anything out there that...
Definitely Basil. No, I'm joking.
The toasted. You know what? You guys have you ever watched Mad Men? The show Mad Men?
Yes.
Okay. So one of my it's probably my favorite show ever. And I've watched it probably 6 or 7 times through. Seriously. I'll just get on a binge and watch the whole series all the way through in a couple of weeks. But there's one episode, the first episode, as a matter of fact, the pilot. Yeah. And he's meeting with Lucky Strike, and Lucky Strike is having issues with the government because of cancer and whatnot. So they're trying to differentiate the product, right? So at one point, Don's struggling, and the meeting's going to end. Don can't come up with anything. And all of a sudden he's like, wait. He's like, all right, so how do you make your cigarettes? And the guy's like, he's like, well, we grow tobacco out in the North Carolina sun, and then we cut it, we cure it, and we toast it. And Don Draper's like, that's it. It's toasted. And he writes it up on the chalkboard. It's toasted. And they're like, but everybody else's cigarettes are toasted too. And he's like, no. Everybody else's cigarettes cause cancer. Lucky Strike's toasted. So every time I see Basil Hayden's toasted, it's like a flashback to the Mad Men episode. It's like, no. Everybody else's bourbon is different, but Basil Hayden's is toasted.
They need to get that play. They need to get what's his name who played Don?
Oh, John Hamm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And have him do that with
have
that
him
bottle.
do it, man. It's like Basil Hayden's. It's toasted. All right, so
they're already paying Mile Kunis too much already.
Oh yeah. All right, Chad. So what do you got?
I'm honestly just in the realm of toasted. I'm excited for the Wild Turkey Master's Keep 1, which is just toasted wild turkey juice. I've never really gone into the Master's Keep stuff until here lately, getting the one from Australia, and then I just landed a Wild Turkey Decades, which I should have brought over. But
You should have, but
yeah,
that's okay.
Well,
We'll
I mean,
forgive you.
now that the girlfriend, I think, has kind of looked past what I will spend on a bottle of bourbon, I am now purchasing those bottles. So I'm very excited for that. And of course, you've got your BTAC, Pappy stuff that I have zero interest in waiting in line for, doing
Sure.
lotteries for.
Right.
But that's really kind of it. And I mean, the Remus, those two things are top of the list for me.
Nice. Matt, do you have anything on your list of things you want to look for this release season?
I'm always curious to see what Four Roses is going to do.
Yeah.
with
That's true, yeah.
The special edition small batch.
Yeah.
It's always just up in the air, just with some of the ones like 2019's, which was so good.
Oh man. And then 2020 was kind of like, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fell
Yeah.
a little flat. So you wonder if maybe they're really going to go back and really have a go at it this year.
Yeah.
But something, and I don't.
Yeah.
It might have been a. Yep. Sorry, Philip.
Oh no, I was gonna say I think that 2019 Four Roses. I think that was they had like I think it was like a 21 or 23-year-old aged barrel blended in there
they had-
somewhere.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the age was, but it was very, very old.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And now it might have been a Michigan only release, but Traverse City Distilling,
Oh yeah.
Traverse City Whiskey, whom we had on,
Yep.
just released. They had a barrel strength cherry whiskey.
That was Michigan only, and no one in Michigan seems to want to give those up.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
my gosh, dude.
that cherry whiskey that they sent me was phenomenal at the 90 proof or whatever it was.
Yeah. Because we had some of their. Yeah, we had. Was ours barrel proof? Did we get a sample?
No.
It was
not.
just-
It was the stuff we had. I think what they sent was like 70
proof.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they have a lower, and so this is even.
I got you.
Yeah, barrel strength. But if I could.
Chris
find-
Richardson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fredrickson.
Chris Fredrickson. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, man. That
If I
was
could find my hands around one of those.
Yeah. Well, you'll go up north, right? I mean, you
Yeah,
head
I'll
up there.
see
So
if I can pull some connections. When
there
I'm
you
up
go.
there.
Awesome, man. Yeah. I was sitting
See
here
if
thinking.
any of the old ice fishing buddies have got some out there in the shanty.
Yeah, I was thinking, Four Roses. I'm a big fan, man. Always a fan of what they put out. 2019 went out there and camped out, and was lucky enough to get the limited edition, and then won the Liquor Barn. Well, not won it, but got picked in their lottery for the 2020 release. So I was able to pick that up actually earlier this year for some weird reason. It was the 2020, but I got it in 2021. But yeah, I'm always a fan of those Four Roses limited edition, Matt. So, but if I'm a big fan of the 15-year-old Pappy. I know people are like, "Hey, it's Pappy Van Winkle," but 15-year-old Pappy, man, to me, I absolutely love it. Even though it's 90 proof, or I guess it's 90 proof, 94, 90 proof, or 94.
Is it 90.4?
I can't.
Am I making that up?
Chad, do you know?
Come on,
I have
Chad.
no
That's
idea.
not
No
right.
idea here.
I mean, it's not like I'm ever going to get my hands on
But
it.
it's not 130 proof or whatever, right?
It has alcohol content in it.
It
I know
does,
that.
right? So, I would love to get my hands on a 15-year-old Pappy. I mean, I've had it before, and it's of all the ones I've had, I absolutely love it. And I enjoy the 12-year-old that we had, the Lot B, right? I mean, it's a nice pour.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
But the 15-year-old Pappy, I'd love to have. And William LaRue Weller, man, the BTAC.
Yeah, that I would love to get a
Freaking-
which I just said. I know I'm not.
I know you said that, and then I was like, now come on, man. If somebody said, "Hey, I've got a Weller, a WL BTAC Weller for you,"
Because that's my issue with Weller 12. I love how oaky it is, but I feel like it's too low proof.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, WLW is pretty much just cast strength Weller 12, and
somebody pops you up there in that 130, range.
oh
on that.
yeah, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I mean,
So if I could get those, would be the three. I mean, the Four Roses limited edition for sure. The WLW BTAC, and then a 15-year-old Pappy. So if anybody can help us, you now know our choices. So
That's where, like you were talking about the BTEC, that's where I do have to give Liquor Barn credit for the Pappy raffles. Like, I got to try the Thomas Handy, I think it was 2019.
right.
When you go to those raffles, if you go into the tasting bar, $10, you get to try one of the bottles they're releasing. So
Don't tell people that, Philip. Damn it. You just blew my whole thing.
I gotta
man.
give credit. I've got to give credit where it's due because most
I will tell you
places
that
don't do it at that
yeah,
price.
we will not do that at Total Wine.
Yeah.
we won't get enough bottles to open up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, I get that, man. So, but that was really cool because Matt, you and I did that. We got to go back and sample some of the. But no, were you
It was
running
the night before I was running a marathon.
You're running
the
a
day before I was
marathon, and you're
running
just
a
like,
marathon.
yeah, I really can't drink a lot. I'm like, come on, dude. So, but yes, we were able to sample the BTAC collection. So that was really nice to be able to do that. Of course, didn't win a bottle, never win a bottle, never get anything right. So, all right, guys. So let's jump back to the Michters, man. What do you guys get in terms of the palate, the finish on this?
It's really got a nice complete palate, I
Yeah.
think. That's one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of the older product, a lot of the higher end older product, the Michter's 10-year rye, some of the older stuff that's highly sought after that we've drank, is it's just got a really complete palate. There's nothing that's out of balance.
Yeah.
For this, I get like nice caramel. I get a little tartness from an apple, almost like a caramel covered apple. There's a little bit of the oak is definitely coming through with the age on the palate as well. But then it's got the nice spice, but then it's minty, it's herbal, it's got like some soft notes. It's got a really complete, well-rounded flavor.
Yeah, and for a rye, I mean, because at 10 years, you're kind of getting to that. I think, at least in my opinion, I think when you're talking a rye, you're talking 6-7 years.
Yeah, you could be getting a little old, a little
Right.
long in the oak here, where
Right.
you're
Right.
starting to blow out, getting a little too much pepper.
Sure.
Losing a lot of those, some of the like the bright floral and really grainy characteristics that I love so much about a young rye.
Right. And you don't lose that on this. I think.
Oh, no.
Chad, what about you, man? What do you get?
No, I mean I completely agree with old Matthew over here. The thing that kills me with this is in a good way. Like when I took that first sip, it was just like, oh my god, it's so thick and oily, and it just I don't know if it's where I was holding the glass or what, but like the temperature of it is warm, but it wasn't overbearing. Which I mean I know it's 92.8 proof. But I mean, like everything Matt said, spot on. It's perfectly balanced, well-rounded. Nothing outshines anything else within this. And I mean, it's extremely disheartening that I don't own a bottle of this.
It's almost like disappointing that after the first sip, nothing really jumps out flavor-wise. But I mean, disappointing in a good. That's like how you can tell
Sure.
it's balanced. Is
Right.
You're not completely blown out by one flavor, so it's like, you think you're disappointed, but really that's kind of the touch of perfection.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think, it's funny because, Matt, when we had Chris Morse on the show, right, we talked about that. We talked about balance. We talked about everything Woodford Reserve being in balance. And then we got to the double oaked.
Yeah, and he admittedly said,
He's like, purposefully.
yeah,
And the 1910, purposefully out of balance. That we don't want the balance. We want to accentuate certain elements. And I think with Woodford, I understand that, they've reached that. But this Michter's rye, Jesus, I agree, man. It's like, I mean, there are no imperfections that I can find. Sitting here just sipping on it and just letting it linger in the mouth, and the finish. I mean, there's nothing that stands out to me that says, I don't like this, I don't like that. There's nothing. So. Philip, what about you, man? What do you think?
Well, I was gonna say, when I'm tasting it, like initially I was like, I get the caramel and I get some strawberry, and I was like, from the last time we sat down, we were drinking the Buffalo Trace, I told you I got strawberry in that. It's not the same strawberry, but then Matt said like the caramel dipped apple, and that just blew my strawberry apart. And now that's all I can taste is like caramel apple, and then I do get the spearmint from the rye.
Yeah.
And like they said, like the creamy, like the mouthfeel is amazing. So
Yeah.
sorry to the other brands that we tasted tonight, but
No, that's okay, man.
like the age is just like, you can just tell. And so it makes me wonder, like, if this is aged on a bottom shelf of a rick house, because, you always hear the old stuff is aged, in the bottom. So that makes me wonder, like, if Michter's has taken these 10 years to keep that rye like that rye flavor intact, and they're keeping it on the bottom instead of moving up to where it ages faster, and that's how they're keeping that rye like spearmint and that rye spice. But it's definitely there, and it's delicious.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, man, because I don't think Michter's, I don't think they do any type of controlled environment aging. I don't know for sure, but I know, like, Brown Foreman with Woodford in 1910, Old Forester, they obviously have the controlled warehousing where they can cycle through heat processing and whatnot to heat it up and cool it down. I don't know if Michter's does that. But that's a good point, because like I said, when you get to the 10-year-old rye, you kind of think, all right, this one's it might be out of balance. There might be something you're going to lose that youthfulness that Matt talked about that he enjoys. And this one at 10 years old does not at all. So,
yeah. And the color, it's just, I mean, it's dark. Yeah. Like for just a 10-year, it's dark. I mean, it's a nice color on it.
Well, at Michter's, I mean, they've been known to dump things older than 10 into these bottles too. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So you don't know. So this isn't a single barrel, is it?
I believe it is.
Is it?
I could be.
I can't remember.
I think it is. Yeah, it's got. I believe it has a barrel number around.
Yeah,
the tag.
I think all the.
I was thinking that the 10 years they're single barrels, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, but you never know, right?
Right.
So could be. That's a good point. All right, guys. So I mean, hey, we're at the end of the show. Hey, we made it. All right. So
safe and sound.
Yeah. Thankfully, I don't have to drive anywhere. This is great.
Me either.
All right, guys. So final thoughts on the Michter's 10-year-old rye. What do you think? Who wants to go first?
Oh, it's I love it.
Nice. Matt?
10 years worth of thumbs up right there.
There you go. Philip, what about you, man?
100%. And if you can find it under $100, buy it for sure.
I mean, it retails for like $150.
I was going to say, retails $150.
Oh, okay. I mean, if you find it for $100,
if you find it for $100, call me or message me.
Under $200,
the Bourbon Life at gmail.com. Please message me, and I'll buy every bottle you can sell me at $100.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a terrible bourbon hunter.
No,
so if you find under $200, buy it.
That's all right. Yeah, definitely 2 thumbs up for me on this one, man. So, all right, guys. Well, man, this has been fun hanging out. Appreciate it. Philip, sorry you couldn't be with us in person, but you know what? It's the next best thing, man. I'm glad we were able to.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm glad we were able to Bluetooth you in on the session tonight, and it's going to help us out for next week. I'm not going to say who our guest is, but we're going to be doing the same phone call Bluetooth thing. It's going to be a really good show next week. So. Final thoughts, guys. Anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
Hey, thanks to all our listeners out there. We really appreciate where you've gotten us to this far, and thanks for the feedback. We'll keep doing what we can to keep you all interested and keep bringing you the Bourbon Life. Well said. Chad, what about you, man?
I appreciate you guys having me. If there's anyone out there who has any ideas for future episodes where we get together like this, send them to Mark, myself, or Philip. Something that we can, that you'd be interested in hearing about.
Yep, good point. And I would say send it to Matt. Matt's not on Instagram, unfortunately, so that's all right. But all right, Philip, what about you, man? Anything you want to add?
No, I'm right there with everybody. Thank you all for having me again, and this is a blast, and I look forward to doing it again. And everybody, hey, drink up.
Drink up, but drink responsibly, please. So
that's right. Yeah,
there you go. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. I mean, we appreciate our listenership. Thank you guys. We appreciate our sponsors for sure as well. And just if you have any questions or anything, if you want to talk to us, please feel free to email us. You can email the Bourbon Life here at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. Obviously, you can find us on Instagram as well at the Bourbon Life. So shoot us a message there, follow us, and talk to us there. Let us know what you want to hear from us, and we'd be happy to do that. But in the meantime, thank you guys. We appreciate your support, and I'm going to wrap it up. Send us home with our tagline, which is, may your glasses always be full, and may you keep on living the Bourbon Life.
Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Bourbon Life Podcast. Our mission at the Bourbon Life is simple: to share our passion for all things bourbon with you every week. And we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at The Bourbon Life. You can also contact us by email at thebourbonlife@gmail.com. And you can always find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you have a moment, we'd love it if you would rate us and give us a review. So until next week, we hope your glass is always full and that you keep on living the bourbon life.
Whether it's rye, sour mash Tennessee whiskey, or bourbon, Davidson Reserve has something delicious to offer any whiskey lover's palate. Pick up a bottle of one of our award-winning Davidson Reserve whiskeys from your local retailer today. Visit www.davidsonreserve.com for more information. And cheers to drinking local.